Welcome to today's episode of The Pursuit of Excellence, the show where we go beyond the surface to dive into what separates good from the truly great. We dive into mindset, discipline, and strategies to really figure out how do we push past plateaus, master the fundamentals, and redefine success on your terms. So, the pursuit starts here. Today's guest, I am so excited about. Today's guest is Jacques Spitzer, a visionary storyteller, award-winning creative, and the founder of Raindrop, one of the top creative agencies in the country. Under Jacques' leadership, Raindrop has generated over 1 billion views and $1 billion in sales for beloved brands like Dr. Squatch, Manscaped, Lume, Dude Wipes, Groons, just to name a few. His agency is behind the top performing YouTube ad of 2020 and a standout Super Bowl commercial. Jacques has been recognized by Forbes, Ad Age, Entrepreneur, and one of the California's most visionary CEOs. He's also a documentary producer and passionate about building brands that make people feel something. Welcome, Jacques.
Thank you. Wow. You nailed that intro. I was like, I don't know where you found all that information, but my God.
Well, I mean, that
Thank you.
doesn't even cover the
No, come on.
massive scope of things that you've been involved in, the accomplishments, what Raindrop has been able to accomplish, being an author, a podcast host, just an
You're too
innovative
much.
creative across the board. So I cannot wait. I am a nerd at heart when it comes to creativity and business, and you are the epitome of what that looks like to build an empire and impact an industry. So that's, I not to mention that we just celebrated our 20th high school reunion, so I've gotten to
That's
see
right.
you grow up into this empire. So such a privilege. I wanna maximize the time that I have with you and dive right into it.
Let's
So
do it.
obviously, you have built an award-winning company in a highly competitive industry. What does excellence mean to you, and how has that definition evolved as your business has scaled?
Oh my gosh.
I know we're
Well,
going
why don't we just, why
straight
don't,
for the
you know what?
jugular.
I know. Well, here's what I'll say. Um, I think it's interesting. One of the things that I've noticed time and again, and we're going to talk about excellence here. I mean, this is the Pursuit of Excellence podcast,
Yep.
is that everyone has a different definition
Yep.
of what excellence means, right? I think a lot of people see excellence as maybe they should like. What I would say, like, what can I be the top 1% of 1% in?
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Like, it's almost like a math thing to some extent that helps take some of the subjectivity out of
Yeah.
the question of like what is excellence,
Yeah.
right? I'd be curious actually to hear your definition of excellence, maybe right after this. So, I mean, I think for me, trying to define what excellence looks like for us has been uh, a mix of a couple things. Again, what can we be the best in the world at? One of my big learning lessons being in business is that if you're the CEO or if you're the person in charge of the vision and vision casting, that you have to not only cast it once but continually over and over again. I think um, you know because the excellence is can only be measured by how much it lives up to the vision, right? And so I will also say I have a business partner, Adam Wagner, and one of his truths, like, it's interesting because even though he's more on the operational side, he has such a great gut instinct for when and how to recast vision over and over again. I mean, I did not learn that myself. That's something that Adam brought to our partnership, and it's something that I've noticed. So for us, we have defined excellence not by necessarily a revenue number or um, you know I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. It's not about a revenue number. It's not about certain outputs of like winning awards or anything. For us, the excellence lives in the culture of how we treat each other in every single moment and meeting. So I would say, to me, excellence lies in the interpersonal interactions that we're having. At Raindrop, we call it partnering generously. And it really is like every day, how do you show up? How do you treat each other? we're in a service business. How do you treat the clients? To me, that's the ultimate piece of what excellence looks like for us. And so I know that was a very long-winded way of getting
No,
there.
I partnering generously is such a powerful mindset. It's a powerful culture, like core
Mm-hmm.
value that you have to almost fixate around. So for me, it excellence is about the golden rule ultimately, right? Leaving everything that you touch better than how you found it. Yourself,
Mm.
your community, the impact that you have, the businesses that you're serving, the communities that you're serving. It is showing up and being able to impact and leave something better than how you found it. So, partnering generously for me, I've never been able to do anything, any of my accomplishments. I've never succeeded alone. You don't achieve
Mm.
success alone. It takes a village in every capacity, and understanding how to utilize people's skills and insight and potential and maximizing that to recast vision. I love how you put that, because our world is all about, well, it's the 2 second attention span that we have, right? You have to be able to communicate and captivate very, very quickly. And so being able to take that and continually recast vision, but then
Mm.
draw it back to baseline. You've done such an incredible job with how you've built out Raindrop, just because when I see Raindrop, I see the brands, right? You guys have
Mm.
done such an incredible job of representing innovation in every single aspect of the brands that you're serving. So, I mean, that's you've watching what you've built. How has that adjusted? But because you didn't always have this partnership and this impact, right? The
Right.
vastness of the reach that you've had. So where did you start, and how has that transformed?
Well, it's a great question, and it's funny because when you said that, it really hit me when you said, nothing you do or succeed in you do alone. And one of my honestly the most uncomfortable piece for me of even getting on a podcast and hearing you read that introduction of accomplishments and all that is like I play a role in all of it, but I am not, I don't write the scripts. I don't come up with all the ideas. I don't film them, edit them, come up with the viral social idea. Like, you know what I mean? There is a reality that my job is to create the environment in which excellence can happen.
Mm,
If that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
I can't, no one person can drive excellence, but they can set the culture and tone. And I think if you look at, it's weird because I think when most people think of excellence, they think of people like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, like people who are kind of just obsessed and drivers and perfectionists and demand a lot out of people. And I do think that that is maybe one version of what excellence can look like, in a very specific realm of like innovation or business. But I think I liked your definition much more around um, excellence being like a positive Midas touch in your personal life, in your how you're showing up in your community, how you're showing up in potentially your workspace, how you're showing up, in every facet of your life. Because I mean, I don't envy like the success, the business success that some of these people have, but some of the personal trials and tribulations that are so sad to watch. I mean, that's to me, that's not the definition of excellence. That's a version of one form of excellence. So as it looked like, I mean, the original question is, how does that look like and transform for me? I think the honest truth to that is, and I recognize this, it's never been and it will never be about a destination. It's about the journey and showing up every single day. There is no accomplishment that will say, well, we've done it. It's done. I'm like, I never thought we'd make a Super Bowl commercial, and then we made another one, and then we made another one, and it's like, oh, do I need to like win best Super Bowl commercial of all time to be like? At what
Absolutely.
point do you go?
Absolutely. Yes, you
Is
do.
this excellent? Um, uh, so for me, it was more. I think. Oh wow. I guess my reflection is I think excellence, I found excellence to just be a byproduct of trying to do the right thing and trying to do your best.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds incredibly simple, but I'm like, man,
It really
it's
is.
actually really hard
Yeah.
to show up every day and do the right thing and do your best.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hard decisions that have to be made along the way. There are things that are judgment calls that you don't know how they're going to play out. And so for me, the name Raindrop came from the desire. It's a quote about friendship, and the idea that, you know, if you're watching rain on a windowsill, if you've ever seen the rain come together, like on a heavily rainy day, I know we don't get a lot of those in San Diego, but they kind of like form in the windowsill and they kind of slide together. And I just wanted to provide a level of service to people creatively that felt like two raindrops coming together in a windowsill.
I
It
love
was always based on this like mindset of what it could look like externally. I think what I've learned most over the last 15 years is that starts internally. When it was just me, that was one thing. But now that we have, I don't know, 80 plus people, how you show up internally every day is the building block of the type of work you're going to do, the type of attitude you're going to have, the way you're going to treat partners. So that's how it's transformed the most over the last 15 years, was
it.
realizing that excellence doesn't start with some sort of external goal. It just starts with a day to day. What are my expectations day to day?
Yeah.
And excellence comes out of that.
I love that. I mean, that is the epitome of excellence is the journey, right? We're never going to be
Mm.
perfect. The excellence to me isn't perfection. It is about achieving greatness. It's achieving your definition of success. It's about utilizing the people and processes and resources that you have in order to,
Yep.
all ships rise together, right? You're going to define what the vision and mission is, and then you're going to figure out how to plug the people in to excel, right? So for the 80 plus people that you have, right? You didn't start with 80 plus people. So
No.
when did you, and what you just said about creating the environment for people to succeed, right? You're legitimately shaping minds and shaping cultures for each individual product. So to be able to have achieved the level of success that you've had for each of those brands, because the success of those brands really is a definition of the time and effort and strategy that you guys have built with that brand. So when did you
Hmm.
guys know that you guys were different? That you played the
Mm.
game differently? Not just good,
Yeah.
but great.
I think uh, I have a very definitive memory of, like, I would say the moment that I kind of knew. It's weird, and it's a weird full circle thing. But what happened was our first big client ever at Raindrop, which is hard to imagine right now, like with where things are at. But our very very first like largest client that really invested in our partnership and got serious about things was the San Diego Symphony. Okay, yeah, and what was happening was I did not, I told them going into it, I'm like, I don't know anything about orchestral music. I did not grow up playing an instrument. I know nothing. And there's a whole backstory on that that I won't get into. Um, but it is an interesting story where basically I ended up presenting to their VP of marketing at the time, hey, here's all the things that you don't want to be seen as. Here's all the advertising you're doing. It's just reinforcing the exact same thing. You're talking to the exact same people. You're not finding any new audiences here. You're not convincing anyone new to come. And he's like, I agree. Can I hire you to help us? And I was like, well, no. I don't know that I could do it. I'm just pointing it out. Like I was like, I'm one person with a subcontractor. Like, I don't know what you mean. And his name's Steve. He invested in bringing us in, and over the next like that as a overall arts organization, they had been stagnant or losing 5%, gaining 5% for a decade. And we came in and we over the next 5 years doubled their ticket sales, and it really caught the attention of everyone across the country. Part of it was, they brought in a new music director, everything else, but really it was things like They had the San Diego Symphony Summer Pops, and I was like, and our point was like, you got to rebrand it because everyone either has checked, like they know it and they're already on the mailing list, or they've checked out because they're like, that's not for me. So they changed it to Bayside Summer Nights. They started introducing really cool new like they would do the Harry Potter movies with the live score, or Indiana Jones movies, Star Wars movies with the live scores, all these like interesting family friendly things. Doubled their ticket sales. They also like even the same artists they had were now getting more people to come. And so that taught me that like, okay, even when I don't know necessarily the core audience from the get-go, I do understand how to objectively look at something, and we know how to objectively look at something and find new people that could fall in love with this thing and how to bring them in through all these different channels that you're not using. So then when we met Dr. Squatch, they were doing $3 million a year in sales. They were 5 years in. So I want to give you like
Yeah, they're already,
the
that's a great scaling success rate. Yeah.
well,
Or
it depends
not.
on how you look at it.
Okay.
Well, it depends on how you look at it, right?
Okay.
Because and I'm not saying it's not like $3 million a year in sales is nothing to scoff at, but being 5 years into the business,
Sure.
they just sold for multiple billions of dollars to Unilever last week.
Love it.
Okay, multiple billions of dollars. And when we were talking to Jack, the founder, he was a one-person show. He had a subcontractor helping him with social named Dean, who's very talented. And we were talking to him, and we kind of were like, man, what do we need to do to get people to fall in love with this? Well, they were at the time 100% direct to consumer, and he asked me, "Do you work with direct to consumer businesses?" It's like, not yet, not yet. Like, I remember exactly where I was sitting. I remember being on the phone and thinking, dude, just give me a shot at this because, like, I know it's weird, but like, I did this with the San Diego Symphony. I've done this with the other brands. Like, I think we could crack the code creatively on what you need to sell this soap. And he gave us a shot. And what happened out of that was we started creating advertising that, again, we were just like, all rules were off the table. Like, what do we need to do to sell this in a modern way to the modern consumer? And we started making these commercials that people associate them with virality because they were getting 100 million views, 500 million views, but they were scalable, meaning he could just keep infinitely spending behind them and it would bring in more and more sales. And so the business went from 3 million to 10 million to 50 million to 150 million to 300 million, right? We did a Super Bowl commercial. We worked with them for 7+ years, 8 years. And like I said, last week they just sold to Unilever. And it's like, I remember the business being essentially stuck. Like, it was stuck at $3 million. And so when we had multiple moments where I was like, we haven't had the opportunity to do this yet, but we can use our problem solving, we can use our creativity and our insights to help a business reach new people in a way that they haven't been able to before on such a massive scale. It just made me realize like that opportunity exists over and over again. And it usually comes down to maybe not change. It's not always changing the product. Sometimes it's just changing the story. It's changing the positioning, and seeing that now with the success we've had with all these other brands, Native and Groons, as you've mentioned, and Laundry Sauce and all
Dude
these brands. It's
wipes.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like all these brands that we're partnering with, they are looking to have a story that people care about,
Right.
and we're good at creating those.
Yeah.
We are. Like, I mean, we've done it again and again. So, I hope that answers.
Yeah,
It's like
no, that
that's
did.
when I knew.
It's actually
It's when yeah.
segues me into the book that you guys just produced or published, the Making Shit Happen, because it talks a lot about your right, when you're going in to identify all the reasons that it wouldn't work, right? You're reverse engineering on how we build a strategy to make it work, and then you're looking at the full ramp up scalability of how do we go to market to be able to tell the story as well. So I always enjoy a good devil's advocate approach, because that's in consulting and finance, we are looking at all the ways that we can mitigate risk. So when you're looking at it from the making shit happen devil's advocate, I forget the technical
Yeah. No, you
PhD
got it.
term around it, but you guys are in the weeds around how to build strategy, but it's also the reverse engineering side of it. I'd love for you to tell me how that fits in with the making shit happen aspect of what you guys created.
Yeah, strategy is a really interesting piece of this. I think when I think about approaching it, the one of the biggest things I feel like we offer to somebody is a sense of objectivity. Um, and the reason I say that is we are all, I mean, I think about it all the time. We are all in a situation where like we live in our own fish tank. Like we have our own friends, we have our own people that buy our product now. We, and so that informs our strategy. We kind of hyper focus on what we have now and the things that we can see versus and I'm going to explain like this is how I think about things. Someone's told me this and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's like we have the things that we know. We have the things we know we don't know. And then we have the things that we don't even know we don't know."
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that when most people hire us thinking, "Well, I have things I know I don't know and I need you to help me bridge that gap. I need to figure out how to make my brand grow in general, or it's working really well on Meta through ads. I need to figure out YouTube or television or the reverse. Maybe they're like, we're on television at retail, but we don't know how to make a social ad, right?" And so they know they don't know. But then there's that layer that they're hiring us for that they don't even realize, which is like there's so much stuff that you don't even know that you don't know that us having worked with over 100 brands, working with 40 plus at any given time, seeing what's working, seeing what's not, can bring to the table that one little thing can change everything. And so that's why strategy matters so much, is that you're looking at the lens of when you're bringing to it, it's like, how do I figure out the things I know I don't know? And you mentioned, this kind of idea of like devil's advocacy. And I think it's a brutal way of addressing the reality that like we have our own subjectivity and can't really think about the outside. The one final thing I'll say is I don't spend a lot of time on devil's advocacy externally, meaning I'm not going to try to convince someone who's never going to buy something to buy it, right? But there's a lot of people that might want to buy it. The devil's advocacy in the book Making Shit Happen is more about internal change management.
Mm.
It's also a good reminder because I have some change management that I'm going through right now, especially around AI, that I'm like, I need to take my own advice. I feel like every time you have one of those moments where you're like, I can give advice, but I got to take it too. I need
Every
to get a
day.
devil's advocacy session together
Yeah.
real quick on AI because there's a lot of opinions.
Well, you are on the cutting edge, and creativity is currency in this day and age. And so, I would absolutely love to understand how you are balancing innovation and operational excellence because in my world, right, I'm it would be so easy to be a starving artist, but we still need to be operationally
Mm-hmm.
effective and efficient and excellent in that capacity, especially with SOPs and AI. And you're talking about that.
Totally.
How do you manage the balance of that?
Okay. Honest answer.
Please, this is what we're here.
Honest answer is we have like 4 or 5 people who are like, that's their job. Like, you know
Love
what I
it.
mean? It's funny because actually I'm gonna give a different answer in addition to that,
Okay.
which is one of the things I was reflecting on is that when the business is small, it's like everything comes with its own pros and cons. When it's small, and let's say you need to integrate AI systems into a 3 to 5 person company, it's actually pretty easy. Like, you kind of pick a couple, tell them what you're doing, and you align around it, and you go. But as you get into having 30, 40, 50, some of these people have thousands of employees, right? These big corporations. It's like it becomes so much harder to implement and change anything. I mean, I've always remembered that when you're small, you're like a speedboat, and then you become bigger and you can do bigger things, but you become like an aircraft carrier and you can't spin on a dime. And, then if you become a cruise boat and, it's like, man, I got my own kitchen and my own living quarters on this thing, but man, I can't turn fast. And so we have my business partner is world class operationally. he both in execution but in vision in that. And then we got, like I said, an entire department of people now whose role it is to help us evolve. And it is always painful. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's always painful to change and upgrade the tools we use, what we're doing. But so is, like, I think about it like working out, and like the reality is when you work out, you physically break down the muscle that then rebuilds. And operational changes in new technologies is that. It's like it's never, it's fun to some people who are really into it and they just chase after the high of, just like some people love working out twice a day and just abusing their body until it gets massive. And most of us are like, yeah, I need a personal trainer and I need a
Somebody
lot
to yell
of,
at me, yeah.
yeah. And so I can't take any credit for operational excellence within our company. And I think the other thing too is you'll always feel like you're failing because there's always something changing. There's always, so it's like there's never a place where you're like, man, we're operationally excellent. You'll be like, we're operationally great. Uh, It's so hard to be excellent in something like that, because to me that means you're sacrificing speed or you're
Yeah.
sacrificing other things that, you can be like, man, if we followed every process that we've ever implemented, we would be better off, like in terms of like everything else. But that's just like not how life and business moves. Sometimes an opportunity comes up and they're like, hey, I know it's usually 16 weeks to do a campaign, but we have a celebrity and we have 7 weeks. Like, can you make something? And it's like, yeah, we could figure
Yep,
out
we're gonna
something.
do it.
I
How
want to work with
high?
Lady Gaga. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love that. So obviously having a phenomenal balance in the partnership, in the structure of the team, on the execution strategy. A lot of what drives success in business is also how you're investing money, especially when you're dealing with innovation. So how are you guys looking at your personal Raindrop go-to-market strategy, scaling the clients that you take on, the money mindset side of your success?
Hmm. So it's funny. What the best advice I ever got on money as a business founder and owner was from one of our classmates, William Nygaard.
Brilliant.
Yes, Will is he's the smartest person either of us have probably ever met in person.
Probably.
I'm
Well,
guessing.
yeah.
You're like, well, I
There's
was
a
like,
few. Keep
I'm
going.
like, yeah,
But yeah, it's brilliant.
dude. Yeah, he what perfect SAT score, went
Yeah.
to Harvard
Our
3 years.
entire class, it's wild.
Yeah. And so he was one of the founding members, one of the very early people at Jane Street, which is now, I think they went from like 30 employees to thousands of employees. He's been there since he graduated, and they do hedge fund trading and all sorts of stuff. And so I went to him. This was probably a decade ago. We were hanging out, and I was like, "Hey, Will, dude, like, you're a brilliant investor. Where should I be putting my money? Like, where should I be putting it? In real estate? Should I be putting it in stocks? And crypto? Well, crypto didn't exist yet. But
Yeah.
point being, I was like, well, where should I put it? And his answer to me was like, is anything growing faster than your business right now? Like, if your business is growing more than 10 to 15% a year, like, is anything growing faster than that? I was like, well, not really. He's like, okay, well, I would treat that as your primary investment vehicle. I wouldn't worry as much about I mean, you want to diversify, but don't worry, don't have FOMO about not being in all of these things at once, or in not being like, always invest in yourself, because that is where you're seeing the biggest growth. And the business has obviously I mean, I don't know, since then grown, I'd have to do the math. 10,000%. I
Yeah.
don't know how do you do the percentage. It has grown a lot. And so, bottom line is like, as I look at right now, we are always having to invest in what we do. Usually, it comes down to people, like what people and skill sets are we bringing in, and then also to some extent equipment, or software. But it really is, I would say, people first, because we have, like, we hired this woman last year, Jamie, and she had 20 years of executive producing experience. And so as we got into these bigger and bigger shoots, as we had never done a $1 million plus shoot. And so when we would do one that large now, she's like, oh yeah, I've done this, 20 times. Like, I know what you need. I know who we need to call. I know, it's like, it's kind of the same thing. We invested in people who, like, we knew what we didn't know, but we didn't know what we didn't know. We started investing in people that were like, well, we know we have this need, but we know that you can also show us things that we aren't even aware of. And so people hires in a in any business is a massive leverage point because they can shine a light on those things that you don't know. And then we do have, you know, equipment upgrades. Right now, we're in the process of buying what we call a virtual set, which is like what the Mandalorian was shot on. It's like a massive LED screen that's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like the size of an entire wall, and it allows you to build worlds and shoot things in ways that you would have to spend so much more time and energy going out and being on set or doing it with CGI. And so we're going to be mixing that with some of the AI applications we can do as well to essentially do things. I think one of the big misconceptions about maybe where AI is headed, not that this is the question, but is that it allows us to do so much more with the budget rather than like, oh yeah, we can just like bypass all people and anything that matter, like, and we can just pump out things for $5,000. It's like, nah, that's not what's happening. But it's allowing you to make it's literally allowing you to make a $5 million commercial for a fraction of the cost, even if that's in the $250,000 range or $500,000 range. It's like we can do things that were physically or literally impossible now, and that gets really exciting.
That is very exciting. I know some of the things that you're putting out there now is talking about AI. It is talking about, advertising spend with YouTube. So for those that are watching that are trying to figure out how do they go from good to great, how do they maximize their spend in the most strategic way right this second to maximize exposure and sales, where would you recommend that they allocate that money, so to speak, right now?
Hmm.
Or attention?
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's a fair point. So the unfortunate answer to that is there is no one answer, right?
Okay.
It really depends on what you're doing. It depends on if you are selling things in a store or if you're a service-based industry or so let's just assume that it's not in store, like it's not a physical product. Because I think physical products are like if they're in store, you're pretty much looking at, I would say, YouTube and television to reach people. Um, and we are finding that even startup brands, like that is very effective. There is a lift in their overall sales in a retail environment. If you're trying to drive business to your website or Amazon, Meta, YouTube, potentially TikTok, depending on if you're a certain type of product. I like to say like quick grab products, things under like $25, under $30, really great for TikTok. And then service industry wise, like if I mean, like for us, we do Meta ads, YouTube ads for ourselves, as well as you can run Google ads, like Google search if people are searching things. Obviously SEO for that's going to be changing rapidly as we look at Chat GPTs and the
It's
Geminis. But
wild, yeah.
yeah, I tend to see social media. I think we tend to see social media service based industries, providing value. Basically, what you're doing right now with Pursuit of Excellence is how you reach new people.
Well, and so I mean that's the genesis of the question, right? Is your I keep getting recommended to pay to play, right? So organic growth is non-existent at this point when you're on social media platforms unless that you go viral. So taking advantage of the virility of your approach with the ads that you guys design and create and the whole story, it's how do you maximize reach in that capacity? And so I'm just very curious. It's a ever evolving algorithm to maximize, but in the end, what I have found, at least from the people I've interviewed and clients that I have, is ultimately the like the epitome of what drives success is the core values, the culture, the mission, the vision, who it is you're impacting, and then making sure that we're getting in front of those people. Service-based companies, obviously, the heartbeat of the company is who you serve, and how you serve and how you show up. So it's I'm always curious about the innovation side of approach. So, as we're closing up, in the next 5-10 minutes, I would love to know what some of your non-negotiables are when you are bringing on a new client. How do you take them from good to great?
Hmm, that's a good question. Um, yeah, because one of the things that's interesting is, and I this is a big thing that has shifted over time. We we used to be 100% word of mouth. It was referrals. I mean, I think that's how most service-based businesses are. Once we started having some really, really big successes, it allowed us to start doing outbound sales, and it also allowed us to start doing advertising for ourselves that generated interest. So to give you a sense, we see somewhere between 300 and 400 inquiries a month at this point, and we work with 2 to 4 of them, about 1%. Um, and so that might sound picky. However, I think you could take about 2/3 of those and say they just can't afford to work with an agency yet, but they're just curious. So no shame in that. We try our best when people reach out to connect them with people that would make sense for them. Um, but beyond that, we are looking for, I would say, first and foremost, culture fit. I have at least a call a week where I'll get on and I'm like, well, this person's willing to pay us money. They're a real brand. They have a real need, but I don't really want them in our business. Like, I don't want to put this person in front of our people, our team. Like, they're just usually it's like they could be like, I'll give you an example. They're like abrasive. Like, I don't really need someone to do anything too magical. I just need someone I could pay to just get it done. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I
I
guess,
mean,
like,
I want
it's
magic.
like,
Why wouldn't you want magic?
yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah, and it's probably a bad like, but it's like that type of mindset. It's like a very transactional. I'm gonna give you money, you're gonna do your job, and that's like, and I'm like, that's great, but like, I'm not a carpet cleaner, dude. Like, this is collaboration. There's a little bit of
Creativity,
emotion
yes.
involved here. So I would say that's the first thing we flag. The second is we won't work with someone unless we believe we can be successful with them.
Love it.
And I think that's uh, something that I didn't think was weird until I started talking to other people. Who are like, so you would, like, someone came to you right now and said, I'll give you, I want, and this has happened before, I have $100,000 budget and I want to do this. And I'm like, you could do that, but it won't do anything for you. Like, it will fail,
Yeah.
right? Like, we'll make it, and it's the wrong thing to do. I would rather be upfront with somebody and say, this isn't going to work. I will say there's been a couple times, two that come to mind, where that person pushed back and said, no, you're wrong. I still want it. And we figured out a way to literally make it work, and it ended up being a big success.
Amazing.
The two that come to mind was this group. I'll just give one, actually. Tech Metric. They called us. They were a software, or they are a software. They end up selling, but they're a software for mechanic auto body shops. And there's only like 10,000 auto body shops in the whole country. And they're like, we want a long form video, and I'm just like, oh gosh, like, guys, you only have 10,000 customers. Like, what we do isn't for, it's like, how, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and where they came back around like, if you make this video, we only need to sign 2 clients and it will pay for itself.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. That's different. That math is much more than I'm used to. Like, this is an expensive software. Sure enough, I mean, within the first couple of weeks, they had already sold 3 new ones, and they were like, we got to get the next video going. And so there are times where I'm wrong. Like, I'm like, I haven't thought through what's possible. But there's a lot of times where I'm like, look, guys, a lot of times people raise money and they're excited and they want to, like, and I'm like, that's not the way to invest it. You should actually do this and this, and then this is how we can help you. So I hope that makes sense. So we're really trying to be, because it doesn't do us any good to have a one-off relationship. We really want something that goes on for years, because they're going to put time and energy into getting to know these people, into understanding their brand, understanding their positioning. You want it to be a multi-year thing if you can. So yeah, man, I am very long-winded on that answer, but
It's
it's something
fantastic.
that's changed a
No,
lot.
because it's so important for people to understand where my brain went with how you were answering that is really when you're identifying teams to support you and your overall vision and mission, and you're
Mhm.
utilizing them for their expertise. Again, like you said, you're bringing people in that know more than we do, right? So it's,
Mhm.
how do I approach this meeting to understand exactly what it is that my end objective is, but I need to understand how to fit into this process. What's the budget? What's the contract? What's the expectation? What's the project execution? Who needs to do what? How do I make this more seamless? How do I make this more efficient? How do I maximize my overall investment so that I can achieve and meet and exceed that overall objective of being a profitable organization, but also to
Yep.
impact the end user, right? So
Yep.
it's where you're able to really dive in and impact the people that you are taking on, is almost giving them an education of what's possible,
Yep.
and then being able
Yep.
to do those actual projections around return on investment, which is wild.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too dissimilar to what you do,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Well, so
Yeah. I
that
mean,
so
yeah.
it's really funny because when people are like, ask me, because I do have a creative soul, but I chose a very analytical career. So it in the end, the core values are the same. So I still bring in experts that know way more than me to be able to solve problems. So I'm really good at
Yep.
a gap analysis in order to identify who we need to bring in to solve what, and then figure out where we go from there. So it's really the same strategy. Yours is just more fun than mine.
We're both trying to make a lot of other people a lot of money.
Yes, you make them
So
look good.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know how to do that. That's a them problem. So in closing, I'd love to know what it is that you're working on right now. What are you excited about? What are you building? Where can people find you? All of the wrap up spiels.
Sure. You can find me literally. I feel like it's sad, but you can find me everywhere. I'm active on TikTok, LinkedIn, X, um, Instagram. You can find me. If you
It's
if
funny.
you go
I
searching,
tell
you can
everybody
find
I'm
me.
very Googleable. You can Google me.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, you can find me. I've long ago been comfortable with that. Um, so that's one thing. And then, I think I talk a lot. I have my own podcast, Marketing People Love, and I'm always thinking and talking about what's working now and what's the puck we're skating towards in the future. And things are shifting quite a bit. The thing I'm thinking about most right now is how fractured everything is becoming, meaning no one consumes information in one place anymore. There is no centralized place. Even television now is split 50-50 between cable broadcast and connected television and all the streaming apps. So it just changes how you approach not just marketing and advertising, but communication in general. You can't be everywhere at once unless you're really, really big. You got to be really strategic and really smart. And so that's what we're thinking through, is like, how do we bring really unique, creative ways of utilizing these platforms to reach as many people as possible profitably. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. That's what we're building out.
Amazing. Any more TED Talks on the horizon?
Oh man, no, not right now.
Okay.
But
Any
we'll
books
see.
you're working on?
I do want to do a book specifically on how startups need to approach thinking about their advertising and their messaging, because
Amazing.
we've been involved with so many of them, and it is something I want to work on. So maybe this time next year I'll be
I love it.
launching something. We'll see.
Thank you so much for being here on The Pursuit of Excellence.
Thank you, Tinja.
Thank you so much for tuning in. This is The Pursuit of Excellence. If you liked the episode, make sure to leave a rating and a review and subscribe so you never miss a show. Follow us on Instagram at The Pursuit of Excellence Pod to stay up to date on all podcast related news. And you can follow me at Tinja Anderson for all things finance, fitness, and food. See you next time.